Start with you, KG. Stefon Diggs to the Lions. Are you with it or no?
No. And I mean, and it's no offense to the player that Stefon Diggs is. I'm actually more on the side of he's not as much of a locker room problem as people make him out to be. I don't feel like he's somebody who's been very, very productive in this league for a long time. You saw what he did with the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, he got hurt with the Texans, but before that, he was having a pretty good year with the Texans as well, man, fitting in good with CJ Stroud and what they got cooking down there. I just don't think the Lions need this at this point in their development. Now, I do understand why people would want this, and you kind of want to push all your chips into the table. We've talked about it. The Lions are in win now mode, so why not try to go over the top? But I think the Lions offense is pretty set as is. You have a great backfield, great offensive line. So the strength of this team is running the football. But when you do go out to pass, you do have a deep threat in J-Mo. You do have a Sam Laporta who can do it all from the tight end position. You do have a Amon-Ra St. Brown who is, proven to be a coverage beater, somebody that can just sit in coverage, and just his high IQ and able to diagnose plays. I don't think we need a Stefon Diggs. And for the money that you would pay Stefon Diggs, how about you pay Tim Patrick? And you can have a lot of Tim Patrick and still have some money left over. So that's kind of where I'm coming from as a Lions fan. Would I hate it? I mean, if Brad Holmes decides out of, some wild dream, sure, he wants that, I wouldn't be mad, but I don't think it's a realistic move at all.
I'm glad that you framed everything the way that you did, because I'm a no on Stefon Diggs to the Lions too. But I also think, and this is what we Lions fans tend to do, now everybody in the chat, everybody on the comments, oh, he's a locker room cancer, he's not even really that good. Actually, with the Bills between 2020 and 2023 was fourth in the NFL in receiving yards over that span.
Yeah.
He's a damn good player.
Damn good.
The problem is that he's 32 years old. He's coming off an ACL. He's a free agent, so he's going to want to get his bag. And the Lions, they just don't have, I think, the money or the desire to go after a wide receiver when you already have the best offense in the NFL. You already got Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo, Gibbs, Laporta, etc., etc. I would be really upset if something like this prevented the Lions from re-signing Carlton Davis, for example, or Kevin Zeitler, or, as you said, Tim Patrick, who was damn productive but would be very, very cheap. So I'm a no on this, but I actually think Stefon Diggs could help a team that needs him more, that needs a wide receiver. Like, I'll give you an example, KG.
Yeah.
Imagine Stefon Diggs on the Chargers, for example. Put him with Ladd McConkey. Justin Herbert could use another weapon. They've got more cap space, actually, than the Lions. The Lions, this just isn't a need. But I do think Stefon Diggs will help a team, and I don't think he's as much of a cancer as people try to make him out to be.
And you don't want to see him, and not to say that he's a selfish guy, by any means, but he's going to come in here, he's going to want his targets. And I don't want to interrupt kind of the synergy that the Lions offense has had over these last few years. I know we're getting a new offensive coordinator, but a lot of the parts are the same. Jared Goff, he's a quarterback that likes to spread the ball around, and any given week it can be a J-Mo game, it can be an Amon-Ra game, it can be a Laporta game. So I don't want it, to have somebody of his ilk come in here and try to disrupt the flow of what the Lions have already built. Not to say that he would, but I just want to take that precaution as a fan, and I'm sure Brad Holmes feels the same way. About going out and signing a guy to this kind of money, to where he would kind of push for that wide receiver too, and I just don't think that you need that right now.
Yeah, what would Stefon Diggs, what does he expect? I know that he thinks that he's still elite, and maybe he is. He was good for the Texans when he played, although wasn't quite as explosive as I've seen him before. But
yeah, he slowed down a little bit.
That might just be within the flow of the offense. It's not something that the Lions can afford, especially when you're talking about them potentially getting an edge, re-signing Carlton Davis, maybe. And as we said before, Tim Patrick as the wide receiver 3 is solid.
And two things. One, I don't want to, I feel like J-Mo has earned that right to be wide receiver 2 on this team. So for you to go out and make a move like that, what does that say to somebody like J-Mo, who went from 3,000 to 1,000 yards, over the course of the season, and really just showed up when you needed him to, man? I think that says a lot in regards to what they may feel about J-Mo if they were to go make a move like this. But I feel like he's earned that wide receiver 2. And another thing, I really would like the Lions to keep Tim Patrick because I kind of don't want to see a similar situation in which they had with Josh Reynolds. Now, I know a lot of people, they hate Josh Reynolds for what happened, how it ended, and I don't necessarily blame you as a fan, but Josh Reynolds did provide a lot, being that third or fourth option for Jared Goff in the passing offense. Tim Patrick has come in and been even better than Josh Reynolds, and I feel like if you lock him down, then I feel like this Lions offense is already complete with what they have, and you just really need to draft offensive line depth.
I'm going to push back on better than Josh Reynolds. I think that Tim Patrick and Josh Reynolds were comparable. I think
Really?
You're still a little bit sullied by the drop. I know you said people aren't, but Josh Reynolds was damn good.
No, he was damn good, but I just look at Tim Patrick and some of the plays that he made downfield. I think he just makes more big catches than Josh Reynolds made during his time here. And this is no disrespect to Josh Reynolds. I thought he was pretty damn good, but it just seemed like Tim Patrick fit into this offense a little bit better, and maybe that's just me as a fan. If you don't feel that way, you can correct me on that, but I just really liked how he fit in as opposed to a Josh Reynolds, where you kind of knew, okay, he's primarily a red zone target. I feel like you can do a little bit more with a Tim Patrick and utilizing him all over the field. Am I wrong in that?
No, I don't hate that at all, but the one thing I'll say about Tim Patrick, and I just want your opinion on this, I'm obviously not trying to trap you. Last year, we know that he was coming off of 2 major injuries. He hadn't really played. He was a 1-year, $1.1 million contract. This year, he's probably going to command, what, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah.
Is that something you would be willing to... If you're Brad Holmes, is that too steep a price for a number 3 wide receiver, even someone as effective as Tim Patrick?
But this is why I say I don't want to see a Josh Reynolds situation, because that's the reason why they didn't re-sign him. I believe at the time he was asking for around $7 to $8 million. That was a price that, as Brad Holmes, he didn't necessarily want to pay for a third or wide receiver 3. And you let Josh Reynolds go. Now, you did get a good replacement, so I give him credit on that, but I just feel like he fit this team so well, and he seemed to already have a pretty good chemistry with Jared Goff. Why take away a target that Jared Goff is already pretty familiar with, and a guy that, he's come in, he's embraced this locker room, he kind of fits the mold of what the Detroit Lions want. Why let a guy like that walk out the door? Sometimes you got to pay for what you want, and in this case, a couple extra million for a guy that's seems to be pretty reliable at that wide receiver 3-4 spot. Why not?
I don't hate that at all. For the record, I don't think 6, 7, 8 million is maybe 8's a little bit
maybe
steep.
8 is pushing it, but I would still consider it just off of what he gave you.
I think it depends on what else that the Lions want to do. If they make that splash trade and edge, if they give Carlton Davis that some term and maybe like a 15 million AAV. But yeah, this is see Justin Station. Again, if you don't play for the Lions, you suck, right? Josh Reynolds wasn't half the receiver Tim P was. Sam, you're loose. Come on. Don't hate. Let the hate out of your heart. Please, Justin Station. Josh Reynolds put up better per game numbers than Tim Patrick did. And I know that it's more than numbers, but you can't say that one was half. Do you remember the Rams game in the playoffs? I know we talk about the 49ers game. I don't want to be a Josh Reynolds nut hugger or anything like that. I know you guys are going to act like I want him in the Hall of Fame. I'm just giving some defense. He was damn good in that Rams game. He had like 80 yards in the first quarter. He had a touchdown in the Buccaneers game as well. Josh Reynolds was good. I think Josh Reynolds and Tim Patrick were more comparable than some people. Apparently, Justin Station thinks that Josh Reynolds should get the vets minimum at this point. But anywho, JB, I want to go to you because this started about Stefon Diggs, but I also like how it can branch out into the Lions wide receiver situation. Stefon Diggs with the Lions. How are you feeling about that?
I got to pass on it. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to pass on it. I don't mind if Brad wants to, kick the tires on this deal to see what he's asking for or to see what type of role he's looking for on a new team right now. But as KG said, I don't want to mess up the gel and the flow that you have of this team right now. Like, if he comes here, like, what role is he willing to accept? Is he going to be able to accept that wide receiver 2 or 3 role? I don't think so. I still think he sees himself as a top dog or top superstar. So I still think it's a pass for me. And honestly, I would much rather have Cooper Kupp rather than Stefon Diggs, if I'm just being honest.
With Cooper Kupp, though, you already know them. I understand that, and we had this caveat, JB. I know we've had this discussion before. How much is Les Snead willing to eat of the contract, because Cooper Kupp in a vacuum, I mean, even me, Stefon Diggs in a vacuum, I wouldn't be mad at it, but it's all about salary. And I think when it comes to the Stefon Diggs situation, I don't know what Stefon Diggs is motivated by. Obviously, he's been on the losing end of a lot of really tough playoff games with Buffalo, as all of Buffalo has. I know that he made that huge play, that miracle in Minneapolis against the Saints in that one playoff game, but they didn't really win anything. So Stefon Diggs hasn't won anything. Is he more motivated by Super Bowls or money? Because I'm looking at teams that have a lot of cap space. Do you think the Patriots would be willing to overpay for a Stefon Diggs to get Drake May some help? The type of price that the Lions would never even fathom paying, probably be an overpay for Stefon Diggs at this point. What about the Raiders? Is that something that the Raiders would do?
I think so.
Overpay for a Stefon Diggs? Because, I mean, they have no quarterback, but whatever the quarterback is, even if it's Aiden O'Connell, Stefon Diggs, I think, would help a young... I wouldn't say developing. I think Aiden O'Connell is what he is. But you understand what I'm saying. I mentioned the Chargers, who could use a receiver. I'm looking at if the Bears do that, that would actually be the Tennessee Titans.
They don't need to do that, honestly.
They really don't.
I don't think it'd be smart, but there's a reason why these organizations aren't smart and don't win. I mean, the Patriots, they're a little bit different, but could you see like the Raiders or the Tennessee Titans making a move like that? That probably wouldn't even help them win, but would just... They see maybe Will Levis could get some help, maybe Aiden O'Connell could get some help. There's no reason why the Lions should do this for the money that he's going to command.
But
chance.
That's what goes back to the motivations conversation. Is he a guy that wants to win at this point in his career? I think he is. I do think he wants the bag. Make no mistake. He's been one of the premier receivers in the league, so I'm sure he wants his bag, but I think he's more so focused on wanting to win. So I can see him going to a Chargers situation as opposed to maybe a Patriots situation where they got the most money, but it's going to be tough sledding going forward for the next couple years. So, but I don't think that this move interests Brad Holmes. He hasn't been the type to kind of make this move. We've built a lot of our receiving talent from within, and I think he wants to keep on that track and just maybe add a veteran here or there that won't break the bank. So I can see them more so in line, maybe trying to re-sign to Tim Patrick than making a move like this.
Dante151, Green Bay Packers. I mean,
it's a solid spot for them.
They don't have the cap space that the Lions do, but they have $37 million. I mean, do they? Christian Watson's probably not going to be healthy for how long? At least half the season. Left the playoff game, or left the Bears game, the last regular season game, with a torn ACL. You got Jaden Reed, who I know they're excited about, but I kind of feel like he faded a little bit down the stretch.
But I was told they had the best receiving core in the NFC North.
I mean, they got good ones.
That's what I was told.
They got good ones, but not necessarily a star. But so I would probably say that the Packers wouldn't do that. I would say that the Packers would be smarter.
Traditionally, that's not a move they make.
No, I would say that the Packers, it would probably behoove them to be in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes. But maybe if they don't, it's a tough situation because you never really know how free agency is going to play out. Maybe a need presents itself that you never even can account for. And Stephen Baffy in the chat, pushing back a little bit on my Josh Reynolds, had better numbers than Tim Patrick. Sam, it's not apples to apples. Josh Reynolds had more opportunities than TP because J-Mo was tripping over himself. Watch the tape, Sam. The old Sam doesn't watch the games bit. Come on. This isn't 2022.
Don't let him do it, Sam. Don't let him do it.
But for real, Justin Station said that Josh Reynolds was not half the receiver of Tim Patrick. That is where I pushed back on. That is where I think having better numbers is a good argument for him being at least half of Tim Patrick. But that's all right. No bear wants to listen to old Flannel Sam.
I feel you. You're crazy old man Sam. But I don't think the difference between those two is super great. But I do kind of agree with what he said. It did seem like Josh Reynolds got more opportunities in the passing game, and maybe that was a little bit because of J-Mo. Maybe that's because of the trust he had with Jared Goff just coming out the gate. You saw the impact that he made as soon as he came to the team. So I think it could be a combination of those things. But for what Tim Patrick gave you, just in the snaps that he gave it to you in, I think that I think he's a little bit more valuable than what maybe Josh Reynolds was with the Lions.
I understand, and I think we'd be remiss not to mention this possibility. What about Stefon Diggs to the Commanders?
Oh, and you know what? I was kind of thinking that, and I was hoping you wouldn't say that. But Terry McLaurin is literally the only real, and no disrespect to De'Ami Brown, but he kind of didn't come on until the end of the year. So if they were to add a Stefon Diggs to that mix, that makes them very, very dangerous, I feel like.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, he had a resurgent season, but he's up there in age. That could be very interesting.
Cliff Kingsbury drawing it up. That's it's kind of tough.
Like Stefon Diggs has some options for teams with even more cap space than the Lions that have maybe a different need. Although Washington, I know that they're probably going to get in the edge rusher sweepstakes as well, but they've got $79.5 million of cap space right now, and the Lions have $55 million. Chase, to circle back to the original question, Stefon Diggs to the Lions, how would you feel about that possibility?
I mean, if he signed as a free agent, it would all just depend on the contract. I think the Lions are just kind of in this territory in this offseason where they're going to be the kind of hot name that teams are going to look to add, like free agent-wise. We've seen it with Cooper Kupp, Myles Garrett, Stefon Diggs now. So I think we're going to kind of just be continuously in these talks with whoever is disgruntled or whoever is like possibly going to be looking to be on the move. So I think it's going to be like a bunch of. I think we're gonna have this discussion a lot over the course of the next like 7 or 8 months. But I mean, again, it's all really depends on the numbers, you know, like and how long the contract would be, how much it's gonna cost. You know, I can't speak right now. I keep combining Brad and Dan.
It'd be like that.
Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have shown to be the leaders of this team that I fully bought in and believe in. So whatever they do, like I'm just here to kind of just sit back and watch and enjoy the ride.
Of course, but at this point, you got to be selective in where you push your chips in because, you know, us as fans, of course, push the chips in, go all in. What are you doing? Like, we're in the Super Bowl window, but you do have to be careful just exactly where you place those chips because you push all in on a receiver. Let's say he gets hurt again, then was it really worth it? I think you want to push the chips in more on the defensive side of the football because the Lions offense is pretty much set at this point.
Yeah, they're the number one offense. And I think the overlying point to all of this that I haven't even touched on yet, but I want to get everyone's opinion on this. How in the hell can a media outlet predict Stefon Diggs to the Lions? Like, there's so many more things that make more sense.
Right. But I think it speaks to what Chase was talking about. The Lions are one of those teams that a lot of people consider are Super Bowl ready or at least a Super Bowl favorite or ready to compete for one. So we are going to be in a lot of these conversations, even though Brad Holmes might not be looking into these type of players. But a lot of the national media are just mocking players of this caliber to the Lions because they are in a Super Bowl window.
That's a good point because if they all fit together, that offense would just be disgusting.
I mean, if he did make a move like that and Stefon Diggs stayed healthy, that Lions offense, oh my God.
Because remember, Stefon Diggs is damn good receiver. He's been an all-pro. He was one of the best in the league during his time with the Bills. And for the record, I know at the end, the relationship with Josh Allen got a little bit sour, but it was Stefon Diggs that unlocked Josh Allen's superpowers to begin with. Yeah. He wasn't the Josh Allen we know today before Stefon Diggs got there. So credit to him.
And we don't even talk about his Vikings career. He damn good career with the Vikings too. Minnesota Miracle, man.
Oh yeah, that was such a crazy play to this day. Marcus Williams, what the F were you doing? I was rooting for the Saints in that game, as we all were. I mean,
we all were for sure.
Being Lions fans.
I hate the Saints.
Hey, shout out to Real K77 in the chat, my dog, $10 super chat. Tim Patrick deserves another shot with the Lions. Brad Holmes never really gives 1-year deals another contract. I don't look for Tim Patrick to be re-signed. And I mean, maybe that's the case, but I think for what you're losing, you don't want to lose out on 2 guys like that. Like, you kind of already lost out on Josh Reynolds, and I know he went to Denver and it didn't necessarily work out, but that could have been different with the Lions, I feel like. But for what Tim Patrick gave you, I just don't think you want to let another guy that fits your offense well walk out the door.
But just remember, last year, Tim Patrick was injured. Brad Holmes, Stefon Diggs injured.
He has a track record with injured players.
I'm sorry.
All know that.
I'm kind of being sarcastic. That is a bit of a tired bit because if he only signed injured players, the Lions wouldn't be this good. But he does seem to. He likes value, and Tim Patrick turned out to be an amazing value. But
good.
I don't think you can get value out of Stefon Diggs. You're going to have to pay a premium for him. If you're a team like the Commanders or the Chargers, and that's the missing piece, I think you'll pay him a pretty hefty amount. If you're the Patriots and want Drake May to fast track his development, I think you're going to pay him a hefty amount. And the Lions, they just quite simply can't do that right now. And even they can, but is that really Brad Holmes' MO?
Like I said, push the chips in on defense. The offense is already set and ready to go.
Yep, and Chuck Brewer gave a response to the 33rd team. Sam, because Lions fans interact at a high rate, it's about clicks. And
Yeah,
that's
that too.
not.
That part.
I understand, because
Shout out Ari Mayroff, friend of the network.
shout out Ari Mayroff. And I will say this though, the overwhelming majority on social media was like, hell no. But I also think it's more indicative that Lions fans understand that offense is good, defense could use a little bit of help. What's Stefon Diggs really going to do? I mean, does a 32-point-a-game offense need to get better necessarily?
No.
You can always use it, but you understand.
And wide receiver is a luxury position. You know, a lot of us were complaining, who's going to be wide receiver 3? Who's going to be wide receiver 4? Tim Patrick came in on a cheap contract and filled that role perfectly. So they can maybe even venture into the draft and get a younger guy. I'm not sure that's what you want to do in a Super Bowl run and be trying to develop on the fly, but it's a possibility. Yeah. It's something that they can look into. So I don't think you got to pay a lot of money just for that particular position.
Well, and one other thing that is interesting on why the Lions would be predicted for Stefon Diggs is because Stefon Diggs was actually going into, with the Texans, a triplet situation where you had 3 really good receivers. I think Tank Dell in that case was the clear 3, but still, you had Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stefon Diggs. And then this year you're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo, and Stefon Diggs. That on paper that sounds nasty.
I'm not even gonna hype myself up.
Right.
It would be crazy though to see that.
Because now that I say it out loud, I'm like, maybe no,
Sam,
no.
I'm surprised. Look at Sam opening up to a move like that. That don't even seem like that's in your DNA, man.
The self-restraint is
right. Big Willie style. Shout out, man.
Nah.
Get jiggy with it. Hey, people sleep on Will, man. You got a little run, man.
Yeah,
not cussing either.
Not cussing.
But what Eminem say? I cuss in my record, so fuck him and fuck you too. Oh man, that was a great line by him, man.
Hey, shout out Will Smith's rapping career. Actually, no. I can't go that far, but
you know he got a song with Big Sean. It like literally just came out maybe a couple weeks ago. He's in a music video.
Wow.
Like I saw old Will Smith in a music video walking to the bathroom the other day. I'm like, why the hell is he on TV? And I'm like, he got a song with Big Sean. That's crazy. But
Shout out,
yeah, he's still out here.